So I think that's all I can do for that one.
Okay.
I got a goodie for you. This is what I'm going to talk about at the Kent County Mayor's meeting. I don't care how much.
Hey Mark, can I ask you a huge favor? Will you fill my water really quick while I get this going? And then I'll get us set up to check that when you get back.
No problem.
You're the best. Thank you.
Yes.
Oh no.
No, I can't do that. We kind of got a lot between. You're the best. Thank you so much.
What?
Thank you. I appreciate it.
No problem.
Okay.
What? Oh.
Sorry I didn't make it uptown today.
I know, really. That's like sort of, but nobody wants to eat more.
It's done. So we talked about from.
Oh, okay.
So we'll have them ready to go.
Okay, perfect.
No, but we're getting on that.
She just told us a little something. That's great.
But she said that then we can be able to see it as she goes, so that she can feel that he doesn't have to be so stressed.
Okay, so the rules are back to the original.
Yep. Yay! Shazar.
Are we supposed to initial that, or is that just you?
I think it's just Allison and they.
Yeah, I'm just handwriting.
The teacher in me,
Yeah, right?
just like some of the stuff that I don't know, so I assume it's on the application, like when it was received.
I
Yes.
kind of did that stuff.
I may have got a copy of it. Which do you want?
You have both of them?
That'd be good.
I don't know.
I'm worried about you.
There's probably reasons to.
Me too. It's okay.
We have conferences the next 2 nights, from 3 to 7, and I'm like, I don't know if I can take that.
That's a lot.
These two are together. These two. Is Lynn gonna be here tonight?
No idea, to be honest with you. You have a full house.
Sure.
All
Get your
right.
pillow.
We need the TV remotes to turn the TVs on. I think.
Anyone wants to speak to me today,
Whoever's ahead of it.
roster here, and then we will have you speak when you get to that part of the meeting. If you're not on the list, you won't be able to present.
I probably have my days wrong. Yes, I think you are right. On so many levels. Like, more than we know.
Okay, I have both of these. Is there a way for you to get a copy of that for me? This is Judy's. I thought everything was done, so I was right.
Well, you just need dates on the email right now, right? Or you'll have a copy of
What
that.
the amount, is the amount the same?
7,400.
Well, that's the thing. The first was approved.
This,
It's up to 7,500.
so, boom.
And it would be the same for his, up to 7,500.
How are you?
How was the movie? I bet
It was really good. Yeah, very good.
What was the exact number?
He requested
Oh, that she had taken 53 point something billion, and she was number 2 in the world for taking the most, and then only from above her had 7 people working in DC.
Say that again.
Only,
One above her
only one
was-
above her was a group of 7 out of DC. She was one person that did it. She's number 2.
After you said that, and then I read in kind of the blurb that they had, I wish I would have went
You can
because,
look it up and watch it on YouTube.
is that true?
I'll send you the title. It's worth watching. It's pretty interesting.
It's because I mean, I've been in a couple communities where these things have happened, but it's always, it's a real amount of money, but not that, and that was over like 20-some years.
She also, when she got out, came and walked the streets of that town. Yeah.
Did Judy give you that? Or did she give it to Dave?
When? Back in the day?
July.
28th. I couldn't tell you. She doesn't do it, I'll be honest. Probably me.
Probably. I know this one, they handed to her. And
This is to who? This is
Sitting over.
and it came to Sarah.
Yeah, I'm good on both of them. You're fine. Yeah, I got him.
Who came that was today?
No.
I have the one that wants it.
31st. You didn't have it.
September.
I have September 21st to approve. And I had to ask and make sure because originally I think they
Control.
thought he's happy different. Developer.
I don't think it's good tonight.
So
Good
it
night,
says
have a migraine.
recommended, but
Now I'm having a migraine.
Do you know what you did?
What?
I got some in my drawer.
I'm in. I'm in.
Dave was supposed to sign this.
I'm sure it was past for a while.
Waiting until it's done.
All right, taking control.
You didn't get
Think
my
I got
code when I said offer. I had to go.
Well, water looks, vodka looks just like water.
I asked Mark to fill my water because it's been insane in here. And then I said, you guys didn't get the right code. It's really water. Might help me get through the meeting.
Did you find any discrepancies on that?
I did not.
Everything like,
Nope,
okay,
looked good to me.
fine, Okay.
Yep.
Very good. Thanks for checking.
Yeah, no problem. And then I just highlighted the kind of the top so they could kind of see maybe when you're talking where it's at. And I have it to put up on the screens too as you talk about it. So
He looks so blurry.
Well, look at that. That's up there.
He looks blurry. I'm not gonna worry
we're
about
not gonna worry about it.
it. I wonder if there's something.
We might just need to clean the lines.
Today is not.
Chris set it up. He put the owl together. It's probably his grimy
I just did
hands.
this.
Him and his big hands.
All right, when we're ready, I'll unmute myself. Oh,
Hey,
sure is.
I think he'll stay awake.
No, I don't.
You said, you and me and Alice.
Yeah.
We should say, okay, pick a time for a water. Just kick him a buck or two.
Just do it. And also, we should tally every time he dozes. So, like, at least tonight we can tally the doses, okay? I think that needs one.
Oh my.
he was crying.
Well, I don't know if I
Okay, we're gonna start in about a minute.
had
For
science
any of our
focus
guests
on
tonight, I wanna welcome
Fine,
everybody.
so it's my
If you do want to speak during the citizens hearing portion of the meeting, you will need to sign the roster sheet that's there on the podium. So I'm gonna ask everybody to please silence your phones
Get ready
before
to
we
turn this
start,
down if we need to.
or put them on vibrate, so we won't get any interruptions.
Recording in progress.
All right, it's just 7 o'clock, so please stand and rise and join me in the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, Allison, please do roll call.
Here.
Here. Here. All right. The records show that our village attorney, Pat Graff, is also here on Zoom. First item on the agenda tonight is our consent agenda. This includes the minutes from our August meeting, and it also includes payment of the bills and financial statements from the end of September. So, are there any questions on the minutes? If not, is there any questions on the financial statements or the payment of the bills?
There were extra that I laid at everybody's table that came in today, that weren't on the original report, and I'm sure you saw those.
Okay, so the list of the bills that we received is, there's 6 or some more bills added to it and what we got tonight. Kathy?
That is drainage, that Denny's been buying with that county ARPA money. It's the drainage equipment stuff he's buying for that.
Are there any other questions? None. Entertain a motion to approve. Make a motion to approve the consent agenda. Second. Any final questions or discussions? Also roll call.
Joe Boyd.
Yes. Yes. Motion carried. Next item on the agenda is the appointment of a replacement trustee. I would recommend that we nominate Kevin Kelly for that position. Kevin has been on the board, what, 15 years ago?
From 2007 to 13.
Okay, so he's been on the board before, he's got experience, he's lived here in Hudson for a long time, raised family here. If anybody on the board has any questions, Kevin? None, I'd like a motion for someone to nominate him to the board. Make a motion to, bring on Kevin Kelly as trustee. Do we have a second? I'll second. Do we have any other discussion or questions? Not, Allison, roll call.
Joe Boyd.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. All right, Allison, you proceed with this.
solemnly swear that I will support the Constitution of the United States
And also the Constitution of the United States
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and the Constitution of the State of Illinois,
and that I will faithfully discharge
and I will faithfully discharge
the duties of office of village trustee
the duties of office of village trustee
to the best of my ability.
to the best of my ability.
Congratulations, Kevin, and thank you for the one that you're helping us out. You're a great addition. Thank you. Next Next item on the agenda, we have an ordinance that says annually the mayor has to appoint officers, which for us is our chief of police, Mark Cuddy, and our treasurer, Sarah Hill. So I would entertain a motion from somebody on the board to appoint them as the chief of police and treasurer for another year.
I'll make the motion.
We have a second? Second. Also roll call?
Joe Boyd.
Boyd.
Yes.
Kevin Brooks. Kevin Kelly.
Yes.
Aaron Kinder.
Yes. All right, and we'll try and remember to start doing that on an annual basis, and get it on the calendar, so. They are already sworn in, so I don't think we need to swear them in again. Is that correct, Pat? Thank you.
Sorry, I didn't hit mute fast enough. You're correct.
Pat, I didn't hear you.
I was fumbling with my mute button to tell you were correct, but you got the message from my nod, so you're good.
Okay. All right, our next item on the agenda is the status of the grants that we've applied for. Our DCO grant is $200,000. It has been approved at the first level, and it is at the second level of approval at the state. This level of approvals, I believe they said could also take a couple of months. And once it's approved, it still has to go to a final approval area. So we have made progress. We don't have a good time frame on when things will get approved. So we're still in limbo, but it has gone through the first level and on to the second level. So I'm confident the second or third level will not take as long for the first level. On the McLean County grant, McLean County has sent us the money, $65,000 we requested on the ARPA grant. We have been starting to spend that. We still have to report quarterly on how the expenditures go. $65,000 to help us improve our drainage projects. And I know we've spent some of that already. Sarah, where are we at? Yeah, basically, roughly.
Ballpark right around like 16,000, 17,000, somewhere in there. That we have spent.
And I think you have plans where we can easily spend the rest of that 65 and then more. So, and we have seen a lot of work being done to improve the drainage in town. Appreciate you and your co-workers work on that, so. We're making progress on drainage. A couple of months ago, there was a question on whether or not the weekly or the monthly siren testing on the first Tuesday of the month at 10 o'clock could be delayed in case there was stormy weather around. I checked with Jeff Thomas, and yes, he will delay it if there is stormy weather imminent in the area at the time. We would do it on a Wednesday then instead of a Tuesday, so it can be delayed. I'm gonna ask Greg from BCA now for a status on our sewer study. Greg? Those area.
A couple items. We have provided to Sarah a quarterly report of details to provide the EPA on the status progress. That was back on the 7th of September, and Sarah sent that off to stay in good stead with them. I had a meeting with yourself, Mayor and Kathy, on the preliminary progress back on August 23rd. Kind of a brief update. I have had since that time 2 meetings with Tim Irvin of the Bloomington Normal Water Reclamation District on their plans in accounting for Hudson and their future growth. And he has provided updated lift station locations for me that are tentative, projected. We had confirmed with Bloomington Normal after the May 7th meeting that we had that there are no updates beyond the two 2003 and 2000 reports that exist. So we're trying to gather up all the planning that's been done. I have with me this evening, and the classic line is this might be difficult to see. It is, but there's details here on what we're calling, we're marched this up a little bit, but I apologize to the audience. What we're calling the preliminary layout for the sanitary sewer collection and transport system. There's a lot of details here, and I'd be happy to stick around after the meeting and have you take a look at it in detail. Basically, we have the village there on the your left, and then trending down towards Bloomington Normal. What we have done then is to take the graphic information and a considerable amount of detail and generate a preliminary layout of the collection system that would be inside the village. This isn't to preclude the other options for treatment that we're looking at, but this seems to be the most viable option, and we're focusing our efforts on that. And so it is a collection system with a transport back to Bloomington Normal Water Reclamation District. We also have a version here that is on the aerial photo. And I'm sure everybody can come up here and find their own house. We have, as a result of this, put together some preliminary accounting of the required quantities. That's very important as we start to move into the cost estimate. Again, this is a concept. It is not perfect at this moment. I'm not perfect. My wife tells me that all the time. And then, but this gives us a reasonable degree of precision on which to base costs. There will be things that will shift to the left or the right, but they will still be there. And then what we're doing at this point is we're starting on the facilities planning report, the engineering report that starts to gather all this together. And so then we're looking at accounting for all the bits and pieces that are involved. Just as a gauge, there are 82 manholes on this plan sheet. So order of magnitude. I'd be happy to answer any questions.
The facilities report that you're going to start working on, is that what's going to include cost estimates and options?
That's correct.
Okay, do you have an estimate on when that report will be done?
I don't. I would anticipate before the end of the year. Okay. So, I mean, we want to make sure that we piece everything together. Some of this I need to cover with Denny to go over, and for Denny to say, whoa, that won't work. But again, concept-wise, we've taken a lot of the engineering facts that are out there. We've utilized topographic maps and various layouts. So
is it reasonable for us to assume that in January, February, we'll probably be able to start conducting the public meetings?
Yes, sir.
To let our citizens know.
Yep, and there will be, we will bring it to the board, partially baked, so that the conclusions that are drawn are not simply engineering conclusions, but they account for the village's direction, the village's preferred direction. There will be some of these options that will be black and white, night and day. There will be some options that will be close, and there usually is a preference there. Other questions?
The red line, top right, is that a line?
It is a force main, so it is a pumped line as opposed to a gravity collection within the village itself. Yeah, it was in black when you went. So we've gotta get it. Another item that is interesting is following my discussions with Tim at Bloomington Normal Water Reclamation District is their proposed lift station that we would be targeting is just a little over a mile from what we're calling the master lift station in the village. That's really great news. Previous projects I've done, one was 3 miles, one was 5 miles. You couldn't even see where you were going. A mile, you will be able to see. So that saves a considerable amount of linear footage, and that translates into costs. And reduces the number of easements that we have to. Other questions? And I had mentioned to Dave, I'm sorry, that this would be good at some point in the near future to have a study session, so I'm not displacing a lot of the other things that need to take place this evening, and you can grill the living heck out about what we've got, so. Yes, sir.
I guess the state has a new program for unsworn communities. You think that's an every year thing? I mean,
it isn't a new program, it's a continuation of what we are doing right now.
Okay.
So there is the planning portion and then there is the construction portion. They used to have a design component in between. Now they're kind of wrapping, the EA is wrapping the design component into the construction.
Yeah, this apparently says it's the construction and things are due by November 15th. We won't get that, but it'll show up maybe next year.
And one of the things that we need to have done is, yes, it will show up next year. I don't see any reason that it wouldn't. One of the things that we have done before we're eligible to make that application is that the facility planning report is fully reviewed and approved by IEPA. So that they buy into the concept, and you want that before you submit for construction permits. You want that before you even start on the design. If they don't like some component of it, let's say they wanted you to have a lagoon system, it wouldn't do any good to forward something like that. And we'll be in contact with them as this moves forward to test the waters and those things. Regionalization, though, is very much a focus on what EPA likes to do because as much as Denny has fun working for the village, running a lagoon system would be a significant challenge. And there would be your compliance requirements are very stringent. Bloomington Normal has that now to science. Any other questions? And I don't want to take up too much time, but I'll be here after the meeting.
I'm sure as we get closer to having more detail, we'll try and have just a dedicated work session with you and anyone from the public who wants to come in the board, and that will be the only thing on the schedule.
I think that's a great idea.
So, we're glad to do that.
We're, and I apologize, but the board is drinking fire hose at this moment. There's a lot of detail here, and I know it's just a little overwhelming.
And one thing we can try is we could take those diagrams and get them to Sarah. We can try and display them on the TV screens.
And I can bring individual copies so that everybody can have one.
Including the audience. Okay, thank you, Greg. Anybody else have questions? Thank you. Okay, our next item on the agenda is a possible ordinance for intergovernmental agreement with the township. And Pat, you recall, did I send you an email a while back about setting an intergovernmental agreement up with the township?
Let me pull it up. I don't remember one way or the other offhand. I know we had a couple different intergovernmental agreements that were contemplated.
I'll get tomorrow with you and we'll we'll see if you got that email or not. I talked to the township supervisor and they checked with their attorneys and they feel that with the sharing of equipment that we have between the township and the village, it'd be a good idea to have an IGA set up. So, try and get one set up and see if it's acceptable there. Okay, the next item, I'm gonna ask Barbie to talk now. I've got a discussion on the quill on the agenda. And if you would like to go ahead and talk about it now, Barbie, that's fine.
I'm Barbie Emmer, and I wanted to thank you first of all for being one of our sponsors for Quill. It goes to all of our village of Hudson residents and Hudson Township, so 100% of our community is informed through what is submitted through the Quill. The minutes, meetings, and different things, our sponsors. And as one of our sponsors, we've had the township and the village of Hudson and the Fuji Foundation take a large portion of that. We are also supplemented with some sponsors that we have in businesses that help with the expenses. So for the next 6 months, it would normally cost $800 for our sponsors, for our businesses that sponsored. We divided the 553 we collected from them. So and that's split between the township and the village. So that would have been divided 276.60, and so that would bring the sponsorship for the village down to $520.80 for the next 6 months. I'm asking that you renew the sponsorship. I've already talked with Fuji and Township, and they've already voted yes for that.
Okay, so what we, I know we put in our budget to pay the quill. Guess what we need to board then is a motion to go ahead and pay that bill when Sarah gets it.
I'll motion to pay the
Quill.
sorry. The village portion.
We have a second? Okay, so we have a motion and a second to pay the village portion of the quill bill when we get the bill. Any other questions or discussions? None else, roll call.
Joe Boyd.
Yes.
Kathy Brooks.
Yes.
Kevin Kelly.
Yes.
Aaron Kinder.
Yes.
Bill Morris.
Yes. All right, great, thank you, Barbie. All right, I'm gonna spend a few minutes talking about the last mayor's meeting that I attended. The Mayor's, Plain County Mayor's Association meets every Thursday, month with 5 Thursdays. We met at the end of September on the 5th Thursday. Meeting started off with a presentation from the Bloomington Normal Economic Development Council. That group has been responsible for a lot of the Bloomington Normal economic development, including things like Rivian and Brand, some of those major efforts. They pretty much have been ignoring rural communities because they've had a staff of only 2 people for quite a few years now. They're increasing their staff to 5 people, and one of those 5 will be permanently assigned to rural communities. So, hopefully we'll be getting some attention from the Normal Economic Development Council for this new individual who should be assigned to all the rural communities, and we will be able to use them as a resource for economic development. We had a presentation from a company called Straight Up Solar. A while back, we were discussing solar systems here. I did some checking and I was told that municipalities were not eligible for any of the incentives for solar power. Well, at this meeting, we learned municipalities are available for similar amounts of what residents are. So the 40% credit that goes to federal taxes, we would get a check for 40% of our bill from the federal government and things like that. So I think we need to investigate again to try and figure out if there are long-term advantages, and are there any of the trustees that would like to drive the investigation of solar power, and You don't have to answer right now, but I would like the trustees to try this. Learn about solar power, and if you're interested in that, please let me know by the end of the week. I will give you the literature we have, otherwise I'll try and research some more. If the trustees would like to do this, it'd be a good project. We also had a brief presentation from Kathy Beck. She is the county director of the EMA Emergency Management Association. There will be some disaster planning meetings coming up, and I asked her to send out information and dates for those meetings. So when I get that, I'll probably share it with Mark. Hopefully one of us can cover those meetings. I don't know if you recognize the name Brad Cole. I think we all get the IML letters weekly. Brad Cole is the executive director of IML. He's the one that the memos go out under his name most of the time. He was at the last mayor's meeting. The IML conference was in September recently, and some of the mayors asked him if he would be interested in coming down to our Mayor's Association meeting. So he was there to discuss their efforts to influence the state legislation that affects villages, the work they've done to increase the town's share of the revenue for what we're supposed to get as far as 10% goes, and we're back up to about 6 or 7% now. We talked quite a bit about legislative challenges and the work they've done. It was a real good discussion. Appreciate him coming. The Illinois Liquor Commission Control Board was also there, and gave a discussion of what the duties are of the liquor commissioner, which happens to be the mayor. So that was good information for me. I also got handouts that I wanted to make available to all the trustees. There's a handout in the candidate's guide to municipal elections. And Kevin, I especially want you to take a look at that one. It talks about the different forms of municipal governments. Got the 2022 calendar required duties. Brad Cole did talk about the statement of economic interest forms. Those are required annually of all of us that are elected, and anyone that's appointed, I believe, also has to do those. He talked about their efforts to get those changed and how unsuccessful they were. So they're gonna try and get them changed, but they won't be changed by next time they have them out. So they'll be continuous. So got a few flyers on solar power too. Has anyone ever done routing folders for the staff? It wasted a tree if I had several make copies of all this stuff. I'm gonna try a routing folder with all this stuff in it, and it'll just go to one trustee to the next. After you review it, put it in the next trustee's basket. That way everybody has a chance to look at it. Do it with the routing. All right, next on our agenda is a report from Danny Engel, Water, Public Properties, Streets and Zoning. Danny?
Water usage for this month, was right at 100,000 a day, 3 million per month. Water usage the last couple of months is, or I should say water loss, has been maybe up a little bit, more than normal, as a couple of things. One, we had a water service leak at Martin's house that we fixed back in the end of August. And we've been flushing all the hydrants as well as pressure testing them all. So each time they get flushed or pressure tested, that's a few thousand gallons that's getting lost, and we've had over 100 hydrants. So that's water usages or losses up a little. We put in drainage inlets at the post office, East Street, and now at Pearl and Washington. I believe I'm up to 7, I think, so far. That is either where we had some smaller visual kind of inspection points, or I felt there was endless needed, and that's all coming out of that county ARPA. There's 4 more that I either have now or on order that I'd like to get done before this year, before the weather gets bad, as well as we're probably 2/3 of the way done with installing new 10-inch drain tile on Pearl Street and Washington Street, as we heard a few meetings ago. I had that in my plan for a while to do, and has now surfaced. We've just recently started working on this past week, replacing broken sidewalk panels around town. Actually was pouring those yesterday. With Dave speaking of the intergovernmental agreement, we were taking advantage of unofficially having that over the years by using the township spray patcher today, and working on that. I'll probably be working on that again tomorrow. So always great to be able to work with the township on things. I won't spend a lot of time probably talking with this, because I think Joe typed up some nice information that I had given him some, and Mark had given him some on some water information and kind of a state of the water system. I've been kind of meaning to do that over the last few months, and some things that Mark Meyer and I listened to at the water conference in mid-September kind of jogged my memory, and hearing how some of the other towns deal with some of those aging infrastructure issues. I just informed Doug that I've got some bad news for him, that we're gonna replace a hydrant there at the cemetery, and it's one that he painted, so sorry for that, but it's one that Chuck from the Rural Water had found was leaking last year. We flushed it a few times, got it to stop, it's back leaking again. So it's on a 6-inch main, which they happen to have that 6-inch size in stock, so I got one already, and we might be able to get that done on Friday, so there's no year turnaround like there is on the 4-inch hydrants that we previously discussed. Open to start, we laid out here the end of last week, open to start the dog park fence this up and coming month. The meters came in, the tops for replacing that we talked about at our last meeting, and we used them all up right away, and there's an additional 3 to 6 that are coming off every month that aren't working. So that I believe is also in some of the information that we got to Joe I think he sent to everybody. I did order a few more. We have as you guys if you guys remember, Logan left for Southern University back at the end of July. I believe it was maybe the last week or so of August. I got another part-time young man started by the name of Mike Campbell. So he's been with us now for 5-6 weeks, and he's been very eager to learn, and has lots of ambition, so he's been working out great. We widened one side of Shiner Street. the final process was completed on Valentine and South Street. I personally think, and so does Patrick Meyer, our engineer, thinks it turned out great. It did the purpose that we were trying to achieve was to seal the cracks and get a new surface and things like that. Had a mixed bag of response from the citizens. A few people think it's too black, it's too shiny, it's too sharp. But a lot of people like the look of it. I would just say that based on what Phil and I saw when we went and looked at it last winter, that it's going to be a little different after the snowplow hits it with a little wear and tear. So I'm pleased with it. I'd like to see before we do it again somewhere else in town. I'd like to see what it does through the winter. So Meyer was actually talking to me just a couple days ago about starting to work on getting the MFT program together. So maybe we can get that going into the December meeting. And we had our last wind pickup yesterday, unless we have a winter storm until April. So we've been busy the last few months. I think I got most of it. So if you have any more questions about some of the water information that Joe had, I can answer those when we get to Joe's second.
First, I want to thank you and your staff. Seeing you out in the mud, getting a lot of good stuff done. So thank you guys for all your work.
Well, as I say a lot of times, I mean, it's a great sense of accomplishment to get things done, but I always try to thank them. I'm sometimes not the best at that, but they all do a good job, including Bob Ross, our fire hydrant painter here in the background, of making me look good by being such a good helper. So thanks to all of them.
All right, does anybody have any questions for Denny? Okay, if not, we'll move on. Next is our village marshal, Mark Cotty.
All right. Chris and I were busy with several different presentations and assisting Unit 5 with a couple different issues. First and foremost, we assisted with the school safety drill at Hudson Elementary. The school safety drill is one that we do every year based on if we have an active user situation at the school. And so we did a drill, critiqued the drill, made some recommendations to Unit 5 to the staff at school on how they might improve a couple of things, policies and procedures, but by and large, they did a very good job with the drill. Continue to work on it as a representative of rural chiefs on the new report writing system that will be taking place coming up probably within a year or so. We finalized down to 5 vendors. We'll be looking at their active presentations this month and then making a decision on what vendor is going to place the county-wide report writing system and jail management system. Chris and I did a gun safety presentation at the library when being here this month. Just basically covering the basics of gun safety, having a gun at home, the importance of securing a weapon, what to teach your children if they come upon a weapon, and those types of things. And it was a very good presentation. We will be doing the trunk or treat on Saturday, October 29th, 3 to 5 p.m. Chris and I will be out there. Traditionally, we always pass out the glow bracelets, glow necklaces to children as they come to the trunk or treat, asking them, hey, hang on to this, don't crack this open yet, it's for Halloween. So when you're out trick or treating at night. But we do pass that out. And we'll also be out and about. Chris and I will be working on Halloween night. And the official hours are 5 to 8 the official trick or treating hours. I put that on the website for Hunt's Happenings, put it on the police department's Facebook, so everybody knows that it's the official hours. And somehow we need safety tips for parents to use with their children. And as Chris and I are out and about patrolling that night, we also pass out little necklaces and bracelets to the trick or treaters. I've been attending the Holly Jolly Christmas meetings. Looking forward to this. They did a great job last year. I think it was a great enhancement to our village to have that. And so one of the things I'm specifically working on with that, they have a lot of committees, a lot of things going on for it. But we're looking at having a golf cart procession to the village. So I know that we have right now, I believe 33 registered golf carts. And so I'll be reaching out to them to see if they want to participate in this. And it's a procession, not a parade. We're not stopping traffic and doing things that require a lot of permits. It's just a procession to the town. We can decorate the golf carts. And I think we decided that that's December 10th. More information will come out about that. And the route. I will advertise the routes that what the route will be. We've been doing extra radar enforcement. Chris and I, when I get out of the office, North and South Broadway and East and West Franklin. Those are the 4 areas we have the largest amount of speeding complaints. Not necessarily traffic complaints, but speeding complaints. We do monitor the four-way stop sign that we have at Walnut and Broadway. We monitor that one. That one tends to be one that people tend to violate on a fairly frequent basis. We also monitor the stop sign east in Havens. That tends to be one quite a bit. And also at Broadway and Franklin. We also have been doing extra patrol school bus stops morning, based upon some complaints that we've had of people disobeying the school bus stop. Keep a close eye on that. And also, I've asked Plain County for a speed study in Broadway. I would like to know specific times, speeds, dates, so I can better assign personnel to do the radar enforcement. They're gonna take that under advisement and get back with me on that. It might take a little bit to get that speed study in place. Based upon, they are asking me, I'm also looking into getting a very simple speed study device. One the county has is rather expensive. The one that I think that would work for the village, much less expensive. It's just a very simple sheet that can measure the date, the time, the speed, direction of the vehicle. And I'm gonna check that. That might be something that might work for us. So that I move it around to different areas of the village, I've got complaints and those types of stuff. Very helpful to know when an actual violation is occurring, so that we know what the person's out there. And that's all I have. Unless you guys have questions.
Thank you, Mark. Any other trustees have questions for Mark? Yeah.
Speed study thing, this small one, is that like the gas station thing that goes across the road?
Yeah, it kind of looks like that, yeah, but it go ding ding, like a gas station. But yes, basically it's just two rubber lines that goes across the street. And so it's at a set distance between two rubber hoses. As the vehicle passes through, triggers the first one, then it triggers the second one. So if you know the distance and the time, it's easy to figure the speed. It's just simple formula. And then that basic little computer, that's all we do. But that's all I really need for it to do. Now, the new signs that we're going to be getting, hopefully, whenever the money comes through from the state, those signs that I'll be putting out that are solar powered, they will do that. They will track, but they're not gonna be movable. Like I can't just move around wherever I want the village to do. But they will be on Franklin Broadway. areas, but I won't be able to specifically target certain areas that I want. That's why having this simple speed device will go a long way to figuring out where our problems are.
Thank you.
Any other questions for Mark? Thank you, Mark.
Thank you.
Next item on our agenda is our Civil Defense Director, Jeff Thomas. He is at the department's meeting tonight. I know, I heard sirens today. We know all of our sirens going off this morning.
Yeah, the sirens did go off, yes.
Okay. Next on our agenda is our citizens hearing. We have a 5-minute limit on each person that would like to speak. When you start, we will ask you to please state your name and address, and then go ahead and bring your topic up for discussion. Allison, who's first on the list?
Bobby and Nikki.
Beautiful color.
We keep laughing every time we get introduced somewhere, like in the whole and stuff, it's always like we're a married couple, but we're really cousins at Wolf Christmas, so.
Can you please give us your name and
Yeah,
address for both of you?
104 South Broadway Street.
Bobby Dick has 711. So we're here on behalf of Holly Jolly Hudson again. We came to you guys last year and with a brand new idea. And everybody has seen what we came up with in a very short time last year. I think it was well received by the whole village. Nikki and I put a lot of effort into that last year, just the two of us, and we're a little overwhelmed by the end of the year. So we seeked out additional help this year and started early, and we actually have quite a plethora of people that have come forward and asked to be a part of it so far this year. We've got the ball rolling quite a bit. All right. So a couple things that happened last year that we wanted to improve upon was that we wanted more help, got that. So setup and tear down is going to be a little bit easier this year. And you talked to Penny about getting all of our stuff that he has in storage for us out here soon, so we can start testing and make sure everything's good to go. Tear down last year was a little late. We did not get stuff out of the park before the deep freeze of the winter, and that kind of pulled a lot of challenges. The metal stakes and stuff in the ground did not come out of the ground very easily at all. So, and then of course the two of us doing everything. So we decided this year that tear down was going to happen before the first of the year. We'll do this through Christmas, shut the lights off, and have everybody that has participated in displays this year, have them get them out and their deadlines the first year. That will help us get through until that deep freeze. One of the big things last year during our lighting of the display was the amount of village residents and children playing in the playground equipment and around the light displays with all of our wires and electrical cords as the sun was going down. We talked and we want to make sure that things are more fenced off this year with more safety fence. Then he got us a safety fence last year and a pinch, but we would like to actually purchase that. Get some green rather than the safety orange to kind of help with making the display safer and then also closing off that park equipment so it's not being used around electrical cords. Some new things that we're going to try to do this year, budget depending, is we want to make an enclosure underneath the pavilion for like a Santa house kind of thing, cabin kind of thing. We've talked to Denny about it already, and we think we've got a concept that's basically it's nothing's permanent, it's all portable, and we put that together, secure it, and that kind of helps with some of the wind blockage and things like that for events that are up there, Santa, and like that. Yeah, Women's Club did most of the way sponsor the building construction of that, so and it will be portable, take it down every year. Post office has been a big sponsor this year, surprisingly. We got a mailbox system going on with the post office. It came from a postmaster in Fairbury that passed away. Came to our post office. They have a Santa's mailbox. They will bring that up and they will respond to all the letters on behalf of the post office that the kids write to Santa. We did have somebody, a family do that last year, but their mailbox blew over in the wind and it broke and it was halfway into the park and they've already got, the post office already has theirs done and they'll take care of everything for us. Post office also made a large donation of $150 to the college out in Sonoma this year. Our new thing that we want to add to the park this year is our enchanted lighted forest. And I'm going to say, because she's here tonight, in part sponsorship by Judy and the Country Squire. She's been a very good advocate for us getting artificial Christmas trees. I think she cleaned out the general store last year for us at the clearance. So she's done that for us. So we're going to have a nice little lit up forest part of the display this year. Mark already mentioned the golf cart parade. That was actually Dave's idea last year. So I'm hoping that we can move forward with that. Sounds like the things are in place. So in a nutshell, we're coming here to see if the village would like to take part in sponsoring us again this year. You guys gave us a donation last year. We do have, the other thing that we'd like to do is we've got street tree service is willing to hang lights in the park trees up way high with their cherry picker. We've talked to Denny about that too, about making sure that they can get in there and do that. So one of the biggest things that we'd like to do is kind of make it a little bit bigger than it was last year. Get lights up in the trees, that would make it a really nice drive-by display. So if you guys want to discuss it, we don't have a set price because we just basically go by with what we get donations for and try and do our best. So I don't know. Last year you guys came to you pretty late. So and I know it's later in the year this year, but you see what we can do and hopefully we can continue to build it. Probably 5 minutes.
Okay, thank you, Bobby. Thank you. Also, who's next?
Wayne.
Can everybody hear Wayne?
Yeah.
Okay.
One day I might think again. Take it for yourself. Try to help you get fence up your new shop. It's rolled down 3 times. You can put it up. Anyway, try to get the insurance wouldn't pay for anything. Unless it hurt, they pay for it. The blue now, it didn't cover me, which is half off for free. But that's, right. So we put it back up. And now, I started on, I got it. I have to help me fix it back up. It just seems like the wind is strong enough that you can't. And put together and so very nice to do something to help me. I never thought I'd get to the point where I had other people do and help. As you get older, you find that you can't do what you used to do. You try, but you can't do it. And so I hope none of you get to the point that happens to you. Because it sure caught me off guard when I got to that point. I used to help people all the time, it's just stuff. But I can't anymore, and that's the way it is. So I just wanted to say thank you and try and help. I really appreciate that.
Okay, you're welcome. Thank you, Jenny. Wayne, did you have anything else?
We've been having our office. gonna take one and leave the other, not take it. And I wonder if there's anything that you do about that.
Okay, I believe being a church, I believe you have to contract for that separate from the village. The village used to be able to do that, but the village can't do that anymore legally. Is that correct, Pat? So that's up to the church to work that out with the garbage company. I know we used to be able to do it, Wayne, but we can't anymore. Found out it's illegal, so.
I don't know.
Yeah, we just, I think we learned that the last time we renewed or did the garbage contract. So.
I think I asked you.
I didn't hear what you just said.
I think we paid for our pickup. And sure, I'll check that.
Yeah, it shouldn't be on your water bill, correct?
Well, I can check on it. I know if they have to pay for it, I think they could still use a can, it's just they have to pay for it before they didn't pay for it. So I'll have to look and see if they have garbage service tied to it or not. I'll have to look at that with Carol tomorrow. So.
Okay, Sarah will follow up on that. Thank you, Wayne. Elson, who's next?
Nikki, Mar.
Hi, I'm Nikki Mauer. I personally live at 1221 Broad Creek, and that's in Bloomington. And today I have Luke and Spencer with me. I am the new board president for Central Illinois Stingers Baseball. Some of you that we've worked with in the past, for the past 3 years, have been Central Illinois Pride, but because of a new head coach and new management, we've rebranded the team as the Stingers. I want to thank them for talking to me the last couple days and helping me out and inviting me to come speak quickly to you tonight. Basically, we are, being an independent team in town is difficult. Competing with teams like Pony and Renegades that have their own facilities and kind of control over the entire area makes it hard for us to have practice and game space. Your town and your representatives have been very gracious the last couple of years in letting us use the fields at Waller Park for our tryouts. And so I reached out to see if there was any chance we could expand our use of those fields during our season, potentially for maybe one weeknight and or a weekend day for some of our practices, and then potentially a couple extra dates for some of our games when the Lions Club and the Havoc are not using the fields. We are a team, we formed our team 3 years ago because we not only want to win games, but we really want to focus on the development of our young men. And we really focus on the education and sportsmanship part of that, and I think that aligns. We also have, well, for this coming year, we have 13 families, and they live all over Central Illinois, everywhere from Pontiac all the way through all of the areas surrounding Bloomington Normal. So it would be a nice central location for all of our families to come for some of our practices and games, which would be great. And obviously, it's just a lovely facility that we have enjoyed using for our tryouts, and would be very fortunate if you would allow us to do that for our new season next season. I do just have, because I don't want to take a lot of your time, but I do have a couple information sheets that you can use to reference about our team and contact information.
Great. Does anybody have any questions for Vicki? Well, thank you for coming, and I'm sure your young man there learned a lot tonight during the meeting.
It's good civic engagement for that. They don't get to see that very often. We appreciate your time.
Okay,
I will actually reach out
Thank
to
you for your
you
interest.
around November when we get together with Havoc and the Lions Club.
Okay. That would be great. I really appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
All right, thank you, Vicki. Allison?
I forgot to mention one thing. We also are willing to do community service or pay fees as well, have our families and our boys work on anything in the town or specifically at Waller Park to help for using the field.
apologize for calling you Vicky.
Oh, I respond to anything. It doesn't really matter which name you use.
All right, Nelson, who's next?
Bob and Mary Dozier.
Good evening, Bob Dozier, 103 Kendall Court. And the residents here for 7 First board meeting. Appreciate
Bob,
it.
my hearing is terrible, so I'm gonna ask you, you'll just step over by Kevin, so you can use the microphone there. So you would please use that, I appreciate it.
We should
It's 103 Kendall Court. We've been residents here for 17 years. Been meaning to talk about this here for some time, but time flies. But it is that time of year, beautiful time of year. Air's clean, crisp, beautiful temperature, trees are turning. Now the leaves are gonna get around. And the burning season starts. My question is, if you've ever thought about restricting burn dates for yard waste and leaves, or if you've entertained other ways of disposing of yard waste that would reduce the pollution that burns produce every year. Over on Kendall, the west winds bring it in, and it is thick. And it's almost every day. There's someone burning almost every day. Unfortunately, I do have a respiratory issue, and I'm sure there's others in the village that have something like that. So it's really kind of impossible to get out and get around. So even if it was a restricted date on when burns could happen, then I'd know. People would know, they could leave or do whatever they want. We've enjoyed living in our home, we've enjoyed living in Hudson. This has been an issue for me from the beginning, but you want to be a neighborly person. People like burns, so. And I'm not saying fan, I wish you would be, but at least have restricted dates for the burning of yard waste. Thank you.
Okay, can you kind of recap some of the past activity on it? We do have a bunker now where people can drop off leaves.
And I used it, I personally used it, I mulched, I've taken leaves, yard waste up there.
We encourage residents to do that. Joe, do you remember, did you do some work last year?
Yeah, I just pulled up on screen, and we looked at, could we buy a used back truck, and we think that used back truck's like 27,000. And then, you still have labor to run the back truck, like 6,000 or something. We tried to look at some third-party services. The ones I was able to get any funds out of, they tell you like $200 a lot. They don't know if we've got 10 leads or 500 leads.
You have to bring it to the curve?
Yeah, they just, all I get on price was about $200 a lot, which if everybody decided to do it, it'd be a lot of money too. We did talk about other things too, if we could try to figure out, give people paper sacks or something, and have them put them on those and put on the curb, that would be cheaper.
Well, I know that, all that along the plains, between the houses and the interstate, there's a lot of trees.
Yeah.
There's a lot of burning going on. And I don't know, that'd be probably pretty difficult, unless you could get a truck back here.
And I'm sure you're aware of the labor kids you on it, and that's right, we're gonna have someone else do it. So we're really hoping people would put it in the bunker, but it turns out it's easier just to break them off the drill mansion, a lot of people do that too. So we certainly have thought about it.
I mean, what are the benefits of burning, right? It's inconvenient for that particular land. It's not necessarily good for the rest of it. But, well, that's why I'll take anything I can get. If you could restrict the dates, post them, enforce them. I think a lot of people do that.
That's your question. We actually like hearing about fireplaces when they were fireplaces that maybe as well.
Yeah, sure it is. But the thing is, there's not that many. There are some. But it doesn't happen every day. Right? So, I mean, here in a few weeks, it'll start going.
Yeah.
You're real thick on some.
That's not loud of me. Don't like notice.
Well,
It has been discussed and there's no, financially, it's difficult for us to implement anything to take the place that if they said we're gonna ban it, then we felt we'd be obligated to provide some kind of legal pickup service. And that really out of our financial grasp right now.
I wonder if everybody doesn't know about the bunker. I don't know if we should put up signage or.
Well, we can make sure, can you put something in the call, or would you like a special article? Okay, and we'll try to get the word out and encourage residents to use the bunker for leaves. We know a lot of them do. Depending how many loads you haul out a week when you, once they start leaf season.
Once it's leaf season, sometimes that is, I buy one little May for one or two of us. In October, November. And, as far as the bill goes, we do have some information on the website as far as, the limit pickup, what's appropriate on drop off and longer, and things like that, so. I believe that will article, probably reference the website as we're that information.
so you don't think restricting dates would be.
My brother-in-law lived in a town that restricted dates for like 2 weekends a month. And if it rained, there was nothing they could do. You can't burn wet leaves, that's worse than burning dry leaves. And you only got 2 days to burn, then have to rain on your leaves. You can't burn them then. So it's 2 weekends out of the month, you might have leaves accumulating for 6 to 8 weeks, start to rot, and then you'll never get burned. So there's complications with doing specific days. That's the only thing I'm saying. I understand your concern, thank you. Okay, for the quill, do you need additional information from us, or can you go? Okay.
Denny's right there, is a really nice writer on the webpage, so we'll hit that.
Okay. All right, thank you, Allison. Is there anybody else on the list?
Barbie, I see you here.
Barbie Aaron, 204 South Washington. I wanted to thank Denny, Tyler, and Mark. As he said, we had a water break in our property, actually, thankfully, it was the village's part of it. But I wanted to tell them, it happened on a Friday, unfortunately for them, and then they spent Friday, Saturday, Sunday following up with us to make sure all the water was clean and all that. But also I wanted to say, my husband and I, 20 years ago, there was something similar out by the road for us too, and back then it was backwood and everything, but with them using the truck back this time, very minimal damage to our yard. And we were very impressed with what was left, came back, filled it in, steam and everything. Tyler's one that had to go down the hole for everything, but it ended up, our yard looks really nice, and we're very impressed and appreciate them spending their weekend doing that for us. And then for Women's Club, I wanted to follow up on the swings that I had sent a message about to see if.
Yep, Abby just came in and signed the purchase order today to be able to finalize getting them sent.
Great. We have 2 swings, special swings that we have ordered for the parks from the Women's Club. Thank you.
Larry? Allison, is there anyone else? All right, and that closes the citizens portion of the hearing. All of our citizens who came and commented, thank you very much. And don't feel obligated to stay. You're certainly welcome to stay as we go through the rest of our trustee reports. Next is reports of standing committees. Trustee Lynn is first on the list. She's not here. I'm not aware of anything that she had would bring up for this part of the meeting. So we're going to move on to ordinance and zoning. I'm sorry, move on to streets. Bill.
I really don't have any business other than, just thanking Denny and his crew for the amount of work that they're accomplishing. He picked up the new part-time gentleman, Mike, and he's working out well, which I'm really glad to see. And then Denny's smiling ear to ear, and the crew he has is getting a lot done. So I think everybody can see what's happening. So, appreciate it, Denny. So I have a lot of business.
Anybody have any questions for Phil? Now, move on to ordinance and zoning. Kathy?
Good evening, everyone. First, I'm going to let the planning commission give their report concerning phase 3 of the village plan.
Good evening, I'm Doug White of the Planning Commission. We met last Monday evening and found and went through a couple of things with phase 3, but we did reach the approval stage in the Planning Commission to present the official Hudson Village Plan phase 3 to the board. Richard sent that out to all of you for review, and as a representative of the Planning Commission, we would like for the village board to adopt phase 3. You'll see it's somewhat general, but does cover some items that are of import to the village. If it is approved and made a part of the official village plan, we will, as a plan commission, then consolidate phases 1, 2, and 3 into one document that can be tracked and checked periodically as we meet for review of whether things are completed or not. New items will be, of course, coming in, but phase 3 we adopted as a commission and we presented to the board hopefully for approval this evening and make part of the official village plan. Does anybody have any questions on phase 3?
So the trustees are aware, I did point out that there's a lot of sidewalk listed on phase 3 or all of Broadway. And the village likely won't have money to put in that much sidewalk unless we could get some grants for it. And the committee was aware of that or understands that, just don't want to leave it on the plan, knowing that it may not be attainable, but that way it's still a goal for the plan.
Thank you.
Okay, I would like to make a motion to approve the phase 3 plan to be incorporated into the final plan. I'm assuming there needs to be a vote. Has anyone got any questions or is anybody missing information?
Other question I have, I know the additional sidewalks, I try to read the other phase 1 and 2. Is the sidewalks, are we connecting the north end with the middle part as well?
I believe that is in the earlier plan.
Okay.
Doug?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
As funds become available, it's not anything that's immediate, but it's a longer range picture that we would like to see.
Okay.
Yeah, I think the goal is to have sidewalks throughout the village to make it easier because there's sections that just have no sidewalk. Yeah, they just don't.
Okay, so did you make that motion?
I think so. If not, I would like to make it a motion.
Okay, is there a second?
I can second it if we're not committing funds or something.
No, we're not committing funds. We're just committing to the plan. If the funds are available, Pardon me?
What are we voting on if they're not committing funds, just?
It's to put it into the master plan. Because there's phase 1, phase 2, and phase 3. This is just phase 3.
Okay.
1 and 2 have already been approved.
I'll second that.
It is a plan, you know, it's helping us set direction for the future.
Right. It's what the planning commission would like to see the village do and accomplish, but everything depends upon if we've got the money. If we don't have the money, we can't do it, but if something, if it should show up, you know, and available, we would like to do it, or they would like to do it. Which kind of saying me, because I'm not on the planning commission.
All right, so we have a motion and a second to adopt phase 3 of the long-term plan for the village. Are there any other discussions or questions? Olson, roll call.
Joe Boyd.
Yes.
Kathy Brooks.
Yes.
Kevin Kelly.
Yes.
Aaron Kinder.
Yes.
Bill Morris.
Yes.
Okay, second thing, I'm gonna close out the planning commission activity for the meeting, and that is, the planning commission meeting schedule for calendar year 2023. They meet alternating months, the last Monday of the month prior to the board meeting, except for May because of Memorial Day, which is my last Friday, so it's the Monday before that. And I'd like to make a motion to accept the calendar, the planning commission meeting schedule for calendar year 2023. Scheduled to meet at the police station conference room.
Third, motion or second?
I think that Kevin made a motion, and I'll second.
Motion.
Okay, so we have a motion to adopt the schedule for the planning committee meetings. Do we have a second?
Yeah, I'll second.
Okay, so we have a second. Any other questions? Allison, roll call.
Joe Boyd.
Yes.
Kathy Brooks.
Yes.
Kevin Kelly.
Yes.
Aaron Kinder. Bill Morris.
Yes. Just to clarify for everyone, this is something that we have to do every year, to adopt the schedule for village meetings as well as the planning commission. Kathy, go ahead.
Okay. Next thing, I have 2 items that are basically discussion items that I'd like to bring to the board's attention. There's no vote involved. And it's the right of way. Basically, if anybody outside the village works, right of way issue, like in the ditch or whatever, right of way, a right of way ordinance would make them meet certain criteria to put it back the way it was. I should say. So they don't, if something, if they come in and they dig a ditch, or they have to dig up a pipe or something, when they're done, they can't just sort of shovel some dirt in and walk away and say we're done. They have to reestablish it back to the rest of the area. I would like to bring it up at the next meeting, possibly for a vote, but I just wanted to bring it up for just general discussion, if anybody wants to discuss it.
We do not have that in our ordinance today.
There's a number of other small villages that do have it. Bellevue, Elmwood, East Peoria, Hollis Township, Rosefield, Elm Grove Township. There's a number of people, entities that have it out there. And I haven't really seen any issues, but it's one of those things that somebody, just the county payment. They can get it up, do their work, put it basically down, but they don't have to stand it out.
So Patrick Meyer, was here when we were, he was in here and inspected, we're working on Valentine and South Street. And, I told him a couple areas that I was gonna work on, he didn't notice, that there was a hole in the road, on China Street that was filled with gravel. And he asked me what was going on there, and I said, well, I worked about a year ago, dug up a valve and just filled it back in with gravel and never changed back over it.
And he said, well, do you have a right-of-way ordinance? And I said, no. And he said, well, most townships and municipalities that he represents do have that. And he said that to me, and I said, I'm not happy. So we also, Nine Corners not the best, as well as, Nexus Fiber House. They are, very poor, as well as they bore and pull their fiber lines through and do a lousy job of restoring the right of way back to its original condition. And this ordinance gives some, I think, some teeth for Pat to for us to be able to enforce that some timelines and penalties and things like that. So that's why I forwarded on to Kathy for her to look at. And so yes, we do have some issues, but
yeah, it's not a major issue, per se at this point, but I think it might be a good idea to have something similar to this on the books, especially since we're looking at like the sewer, which we have been calling the electrical company to come in and put new lines, solar panels. Yeah, there might be a number of things, which is why I'd like to have the board seriously look at it and sort of decide and make phone calls, call me, I don't care. So that we sort of get a feel of if it's really necessary or not, but it's like, everybody should put it back in the original, or as close, you know, you can't put grass back down, but you can see.
I'd agree with you, because I had, when Connexus came and put our fiber in front of the house, they run it up in front of the house and just walk away, and left it for us to do it.
would the ordinance cover just village property and right of way, or would it also cover residents?
Off the top of my head, I'm not sure, but I believe it covers residents, if not, it can be written to cover residents.
We cannot intervene on, so the ordinance covers construction within the village right of way. And that's the extent of your regulatory authority. You would not have the authority to, tell Connexus Fiber how they have to restore somebody's individual yard. But you can compel a minimum standard for construction within your right of way. If they're going to individual yards, probably they're operating within a private easement, which that easement regulation will depend on the terms of the easement. But the ordinance sets minimum construction standards for any construction within your right of way.
Does that right of way go all the way up to the property owner's property line?
Yeah, correct. Yeah.
When Connexus is adding it, they're actually adding it in the city's right of way.
Yeah. Generally, it's, if there's sidewalks, it's, right of way is often, and it's not always the case, but the easiest visual markers is sidewalk to sidewalk. If there's no sidewalk and there's a ditch, it's usually backside of ditch to backside of ditch. But yeah, essentially any main line for water or for gas or any trunk line for fiber, all that is, you're always going to find within the right of way, as well as phone poles and underground electrical. So.
Private property per se, it's just the village right of way.
Correct.
A lot of right of ways.
I understand that, and I think we need to move forward with it, so. Just curious.
That's why we have.
Yep.
Okay, the other item I wanted to sort of bring up was,
Okay.
yes.
Excuse me, Mayor. If I can offer a comment, I just put together a Raymond right away, utility ordinance for those to support, so I'd be happy to talk about that.
Yes, we would go forward that, those are great.
They're very extensive. You can pull it down, but.
Okay, the other one is the penalty provision update from Pat, representative, and what it is basically. Pat, you want to explain it?
Yeah, sure. So, broad strokes in our code, there's different places where penalties for violations are set for. And understand first that a violation of an ordinance oftentimes can be settled by a payment over the counter to the village, but if it's not settled, it goes to court. And usually when it goes to court, we talk in terms of fine range minimums to maximums. Some time ago, I put together an ordinance that updated the general penalty provision for the code. And that applies anywhere where we haven't specified a set penalty for a certain violation. So if I have a section in the code that says it's improper for dogs to run at large, but there's no penalty defined for that offense, general penalty applies. We did not at that time endeavor to update all of the individual penalty sections throughout the code. Chief Cotty, in addressing some code enforcement issues, had some discussions with me about what fine would apply, and through those discussions, kind of focused, came to me on needing to update the individual penalty sections throughout your code. And instead of just fixing the one or two that Chief caught, it seemed a good time to just go through the whole code, identify anywhere where this problem existed and fix it. So the ordinance I prepared, where there are times when we have a specific penalty, and in my eye, we didn't need to define a specific penalty and we could just rely on a general penalty section, I proposed to eliminate the specific penalty. Again, because a general penalty would then apply, so that if in the future you change your fine levels, you don't have to go through those ordinances specifically as well. You could just update the general fine. In other areas where I felt a specific penalty provision was needed, we looked to update the minimum fines so they were generally consistent with what you had set when you updated your penalty provision ordinance some time ago. So I know that's somewhat complex, but broad strokes, this is phase 2 of updating your penalty provisions, make sure the minimums are sufficient, and it does some house cleaning with your code so that if you ever change a penalty provision in the future, it can be done more easily.
And I will bring this up at the next meeting. If anybody wants to talk about it, please feel free to talk. He explained it much better than I said. All right, my last item is to review and vote on the City Mall TIF application. They have requested TIF assistance for their properties for the fascia, and they submitted an estimate along with it. Did everybody get it? Okay, I couldn't remember. And I think it's reasonable. I think it would be nice if all the properties on Front Street were improved. Their appearance is, no offense to anybody, but not the best. So I have no problem with. Oh, the estimate is $7,845. The TIF will be 50% up to three quarters up to 7,500. The actual application lists 8, which I think is probably a reasonable amount based on this estimate, because this estimate is 5 months old, 3 months old.
I think the estimate was just for the tuck point or power washing at tuck point. I don't believe it included anything like a lift or anything else that they might have to get.
Right, so I think 8,000 is very reasonable. Paying up to 7,500 because
75%.
75%
With a max of 7.
with a max of 7,500. But like I said, I anticipate that they may come back and change their value of their TIF due to the economic situation. Yeah. Because that's pretty mobile right now. So I'd like to make a motion to approve this application for $8,000 75% up to 7,500 in actual fees.
Okay. I'll second that. We have a motion and a second. Motion and a second to approve the TIF application for same goal or up to 75% of the total cost, not to exceed $7,500. Are there any questions or additional discussions? If not, Allison, roll call.
Joe Boyd.
Yes.
Becky Brooks.
Yeah.
Kevin Kelly.
Yes.
Aaron Kinder.
Yes.
Bill Morris.
Yes.
And the only other thing I would like to say is Doug White has done a tremendous job volunteering. And Jenny and his guys have done a tremendous job, and kudos to them. And that I'm not being sarcastic or anything. And that's all I have, thank you.
Okay, and Judy, we noticed that the work on your building is beginning. Glad to see that. Hope everything goes well with that. Okay, next on the agenda is police department, and I know Kevin's new, but I went ahead and moved a couple things under his agenda for discussion tonight. Kevin?
Yeah, I haven't done this all night, so, a couple of things that I spoke with Mark and Chris and the mayor on is, I think, two things. One is to hire a third officer. And the other item that we talked about is that they have annual training. Mark, help me out with this, on this, is that was, I know it was at CI, at the CI facility, that you have to get annual gun safety or shooting training.
Well, what it is, we've always had an annual qualification, and we always can find an outdoor range to do that in. You can't do that in an indoor range because how we shoot is different from what a civilian would shoot. But they do want to see, as part of the Safety Act, quarterly shoots, just quarterly shooting, and there's no set scoring, there's no set course of fire. So we don't have a range, so we're like, okay, well, we can go out to CI, and Chris and I can do those quarterly shoots out of CI. We can just do that. It's not an annual certification, it's not a certified shoot, it's just a training shoot. So for the ease is why we decided, let's go out to CI, because they always offered the reduced government membership anyway. So that's why Chris and I went out there and we went ahead and paid for our membership out there so that we could go out there and do quarterly shoots.
So, and then the cost of that is to you as a member, I think that was $100 to each of you, correct? That, so since this is related to the police board, what I was recommending is that they would be reimbursed for that $100 cost at the facility. And that's good for 1 year.
Yes, it'd be annual.
And do I make a motion then, or?
Yeah, Sarah, do you recall, do we have that in the budget?
No.
We can make a note, put it in next year's budget. Hopefully we'll remember it. Yeah, go ahead and make the motion.
Okay, I'll make a motion to reimburse Chief Connie and Officer Lane for $100 each for the cost of, for their costs at that CI facility.
I'll second that.
Okay, so we have a motion and a second to reimburse CI shooting range expenses which are required by the state to be certified. Are there any other questions or discussions? Also, roll call.
Joe Boyd.
Yes.
Becky Brooks.
Yes.
Kevin Kelly.
Yes.
Aaron Kinder.
Yeah.
Bill Morris.
Yes.
The second item on the agenda, and it is, we've had a lot of discussion about this, is, and I think this was a scheduled September's meeting that we did not have, it was canceled. But talking about the possibility of hiring a third officer to cover additional, hours on that. I was able to get some information from Sarah to give me a baseline of what we're actually paying now for payroll. Everybody should have a copy of that, I think in their packets, you can see, and a comparison between the, 3 officers, 2 officers. And I kind of thought about this after I talked to Mark and the mayor, but what I did was I added, payroll, employer cost. So on that, there's their annual, wages. Had Sarah kind of compute estimated her health insurance costs, the employer portion of the IMRF that we pay, and then the Medicare and OSDI insurance. And I just, for comparison purposes, we have a total of the first year, what the 3 officers would be as an estimate versus the current 2 officers right now. What I did, I talked to Mark. I think he made some really valid points for the reasons why we should have a third officer on it. My issue right now is I have only met a couple of you. I've been a board member for about an hour and 15 minutes here. So I want to have a discussion and maybe not so much vote for this, but I want to kind of talk to each one of you and have a discussion about what you think. I know there's priorities with the sewer, the phase 1, 2, and 3 plan. There's a lot of other competing options out there. I know that Denny is doing a great job, but there's no backfill on his position if he has a vacation or medical leave or God forbid on that. So I kind of want to just, before we add that cost, have a discussion and kind of maybe not just vote so much tonight, but have that discussion to kind of see what the pros and cons are and making sure that, kind of talk about this a little bit before we move on.
Yeah, I'm really extremely hesitant to take on another person right now. I think we could have a discussion again in 6 months or a year or something. I think between coming out of the pandemic, we're getting all this free money and stuff, right? So things are working at the moment. I don't think we put a third person in our budget. Looking at it here, I actually kind of thought we had put it in, but I don't think we did when I looked. I don't think the money's allocated in there. What I did send to y'all a couple days ago about, we are finding some water things we probably need. But we also did budget between those 2 things. I also think it's very likely that if we queried citizens, that they'd be more interested in making sure we had the drainage stuff under control before we committed these kind of funds, and that's my opinion. I know we have some money allocated for some of the drainage stuff and then spending that. So I think, maybe further down the road, we can maybe do that after we get out of the pandemic and make sure we have our budget under control. Maybe make sure we have some funds for these other things we need. We tried to budget a bit for, the things like we replace fire hydrants, but I think Denny's finding they're kind of failing faster than we realized. I think the meter heads, we set the fund for the meter heads, trying to plan for that, but they seem to be failing faster than we planned also. So I'm really hesitant to do this at this time, to commit these funds at this time. That's my opinion at the moment.
And I guess I'll jump on that too. I mean, honestly, looking through this schedule, I think is one of the things that don't do well. We would have 3 officers on, and we can't even cover a full 24-hour shift. 3 officers working 8 hours a day, 8 hours each, you should be able to cover an entire 24 hours. But instead, we have so much overlap in any one of these. I mean, I just don't know how we can justify it.
I would second that comment too, that the schedule thing would have to change too, yeah.
Drastically. I mean, because right now, we've got Chris coming on at 10 o'clock in the morning. Mark's only been here for 3 hours by himself. Now we got Chris on.
Mark, can you explain that to me before we get into that further, because I'm gonna ask the same thing. We got two veteran officers.
Right.
Okay? And I see now that, just on current coverage, are you on full-time? Can you patrol full-time? Are you able to?
I think during the budget session, I believe I explained this, and I think I've explained it several times. The position that I have will take 50% administrative time. I need overlap of 20 hours a week to be able to do the administrative duties. That's why you'll see that there are overlap between Chris and I, okay, for those hours during the week, so that I can get the 20 hours a week that I need for administration. That's why Chris, working 10 to 6, I'm all by myself Monday. I'm answering calls. I'm out doing patrol, I'm out running radar, doing all those things. Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, there's 5-hour overlap, that's 4 days. That equals to 20 hours. I can't make it any more simple than that, Aaron. I can't.
And I get that. I guess where I question is, this is just me, the administrative time. I mean, I had you pull some numbers from the last year today.
Mm-hmm.
And we are averaging 1 traffic stop a week.
Mm-hmm.
2 officers that we have on, we're averaging 1 traffic stop a week. Out of the 597 service calls, we're averaging 12 calls in a week's time.
Mm-hmm.
We have no DUIs.
Well, you won't have any DUIs because no one works at night.
That explains my answer right there. So we're not covering those nighttime hours.
Mm-hmm.
But I guess I'm looking at this thinking, 1 traffic stop a week, how much administration time? And I know you've got other things you have to do, state requirements you have to do.
Correct.
But is this common for most departments to have a chief that sits in the office 20 hours a week?
If you wanted me to bring Bailey, he can tell you, the previous chief, that he spent a minimum of 20 hours a week doing administrative. And yes, that is correct. That's how much time it takes.
My question to you is in that 20 hours, and you're sitting in your office, if a call were to come in, are you going to respond from your office?
Yes, I have to. I always do.
Okay. So we're still got 2 officers that are responding.
Correct. And sometimes Chris and I will respond at the same time to many calls. So,
I get that. I guess if you see where I'm going with it, if you're not running traffic because we're only doing 1 traffic stop a week,
mm-hmm.
and you're going to respond from your office if something gets in, obviously no one's stopping anybody that's in that type of traffic stop throughout town.
Right. And then you also have to remember that there are meetings that I must go to, training board meetings, and other things like that that take hours out of my day to do that. But yet I need to do those things.
But
And
then you bring
so,
on a 3rd officer, you overlap by at least 3 hours.
these, and I think I said those are illustrated. I can come up with 100 different ways of breaking down the manpower. Those are just simply illustrated. I could have the person work midnight to 8 in the morning if that's what the board wants. All I said was those were illustrated, they're not exhaustive. And I think I made that clear in the email, that we can work this person whatever hours we want to.
And I get that. I guess my thing with it is we've heard us voice our opinions about the hours and schedule.
Mm-hmm.
Still put together a schedule overlapping that many hours.
Because there's
You knew the
no,
concerns of the board weeks ago, and you still put together a schedule that overlap. I don't foresee unless the board is going to step in and set those hours, I don't feel confident that those hours can change.
So,
I would like to suggest that we come up with a graph of patrol hours. You're not doing administrative work. Then I think that would give us entirely a different picture of what's overlapping. Because it's only potentially 1 hour a day or 4 days a week when they're both patrolling. Because out of the 8 hours in work today, it's got 3 hours in the morning by himself. It's got an hour, 4 hours a day of paperwork, administrative work. So that's 7 of the 8 hours. So there's really only 1 hour left. That's quote unquote, where they both might be patrolling. And I think that would be a different visualization that might help us understand the overlap. Because they're both working overlapping hours, but they're not overlapping in their patrol duties. There's a big difference there that's hard to explain, and maybe we can do that visually.
And I get that, and I get where you're going with that, Dave, but it still takes me back to, okay, you're right, he's sitting in the office, they're not overlapping on patrol. So that means Chris is making 1 stop a week for these numbers.
I understand that. I thought we were doing more than that.
49 in 1 year, 49 stops in 1 year.
I see it there.
Yeah, I don't know that we need to be constantly controlling. I mean, I think it would be acceptable to only have like an hour overlap, and you spend as much time in the office doing it as you need. But what we want is, if there is a problem, that there's someone to respond. I mean, I know that when you're in the middle of something and then it would be an interruption, I understand that. But I don't know that we have to have Chris controlling because it's in the office. If you're in the office, you can respond to a thing. And if it ends up taking you all of your shift to get it done because you get interrupted, I think that's fine too.
I do want to point out that the previous way that it was run, you had a chief that worked 6 to 2 and an officer that worked 7 to 3. I expanded the hours much more coverage with 2 people than the previous administration. I did talk to the mayor about having somebody past midnight. There is no reason to have an officer and pay them after midnight. There are no calls for service. There's really nothing open. I wanted someone because of the businesses that are there that are open to 10, 11, and also the bars that are open at night. Once the bars close, there's absolutely, in my opinion, I think it's a waste of manpower to have someone just driving around when there's no calls for service and nothing going on at night, in the hopes that you might catch an occasional person that does a burglary that we have once a year, burglary spree for vehicle burglary. So that's why you see that I don't have someone working till 2 or 3 or 4 in the morning. There is an example there of someone working till 1 o'clock in the morning. One of those examples. Again, we can work on however we want. That's not the issue. The issue is this, is that as I look at it, after a certain hour, most small police departments don't have anybody on duty. They just don't.
So then that leads me to, like Joe was saying, why don't we push Chris off to where Chris stays on till, he can't work till just 11, it's gotta be past 11. Because if he's on till 11, he's not covering the bank deposit going from cases that you made the comment to me last week. Because by the time they close at 11, they get it together, they're not gonna be leaving till 11:15 to go grab off.
And the reason why
if you're saying we don't need the coverage at night, why don't we push his hours to cover those hours at night?
Because I don't have the overlap for me to do the administrative duties that we've always been doing. It's, you can only spread it as thin as you can. That's all I can say. I can spread it as thin as you can. But when you only have 2 people and you have absolutely, it just doesn't work.
I feel like the most important service though is that someone can respond if there is a problem, if someone does make a call. I don't see it as important to do patrols, and I don't think it's that dangerous or village myself others could disagree. But I mean, having someone, you know, who can respond the maximum number of hours, to me, I think is what is most important.
When we're not here, the county will respond to emergency calls. It will. What I am looking at is that I wanted to have third person to do more things in the evening from a proactive standpoint. I think I've discussed with the mayor that I go out on my own on Saturdays and Sundays and do patrols. That's just something that I do above and beyond what my normal hours are. So I'm trying to cover as many hours as I can, get the job done, and get the reports and everything else that I'm required to by state statute. That's what I'm telling you. If you want to dictate and change hours, you're the board, you can do that.
There's another option that we talked about before that we haven't talked about tonight, and that would be a part-time person, X number of hours too. With the Safety Act being implemented at the first of the year, I know there are police that are resigning. I don't have a clue how many are. That might be a good time to pick up a part-timer if we wanted a part-time. I thought, Sarah, didn't we include budget for a third full-time person?
Yeah, it is in those numbers.
Okay.
Just one caveat on the part-timers and even full-timers. Everywhere I go, I have police discussions, and it is exceptionally hard right now to find part-timers especially, but even full-timers, they're all getting poached by full-time agencies who can pay more and have better retirement and everything else than you guys. So it's a really challenging time to find new police part-time or full-time.
Pat, we're having a real hard time hearing you. Can you try turning your volume up?
I think you got to turn your thing on back.
Yeah, I don't know if this is any better, but I was just observing that most of my municipalities are having a hard time finding part or full-time officers, and especially full-time officers retention is very challenging right now because you can lateral to almost any big agency, have an earlier retirement, have more pay than you could ever offer as a small town. And part-timers are exceptionally hard to attract right now. So it's really challenging on either front to find somebody.
Okay, thank you. Turning up the volume seems to help. Thanks for that insight, Pat.
One question, Warren, do you think we got all the stuff in the budget that the Safety Act is gonna require? Is there more money we have to spend to comply with the Safety Act stuff, you know?
We will need to have body cams by 2025. I discussed that at the last budget hearing. That will be a cost. Not so much the equipment, but the maintenance of it, storage and retrieval of that. It would probably be best to budget that, not necessarily in the next budget year, but the budget year next budget. Not next budget, but the year after that. Because what you'll want to do is you'll want to have to replace the squad car video cameras, which are 12 years old, and replace those so that they sync with the body cameras, so they're all one system. Now, in 2025, when we go to the body cams, it's not so much the cost of the equipment. That will be a one-time cost. It will be expensive. But it'll be the ability to, when we go to court or somebody FOIAs a video, it's the manipulation of the video. If you ever see them on TV, everything's blurred out and this and that. And we have to save that video and be able to retrieve it. Most departments of our size would outsource that to a vendor.
Yeah, coming back, I think so January 1st, we don't have to have all that stuff, so we can budget it for the year.
No, we don't have to 2025.
Okay, yeah, okay.
Hey, Mark, have you looked into the possibility of bringing on possibly another entity such as township, maybe, or someone? I would feel a lot better if we were gonna bring on a full-time person.
That would be
who
great.
help us out with at least half of the salary of her.
Um,
I don't know that we've looked at anything, or are there any grants available, anything out there?
The, and I can look for some grants. The township, no, Mike does not want to go down that road. I did reach out to Tawanda, and at this time, they're not interested. When I first came on board as chief, I thought maybe I could go out there. But, I mean, I'll keep asking, all we can do is say no.
Well,
But,
my whole thing is, I hate to bring a guy on, and with benefits and everything, we're gonna be paying 70 grand. And,
have to
if we can't come up with that revenue, we're gonna have to let it go.
I know.
And then we're back to square one. I feel better about trying to handle it with part-time if we could get our feet wet with a part-timer. If we can get a trained part-timer in here and try to see what it's gonna be like.
Yeah.
But I'm real leery about going with a third full-timer. Kathy, you have any thoughts you'd like to share? Kathy, you're never shy.
I think we're not in a financial position, a stable enough financial position to afford a third police officer.
Okay.
I think it's a lot of nice, pretty pictures from Mark, or.
Well, and that's what the board requested too.
Okay, but I don't think they're real.
Pictures?
Well, Mark was saying that you can manipulate the hours as you see fit, which is fine. But why don't you present that to the board asking? And I know I'm saying that, Kathy. Like Aaron was saying, you put the hours in for 2 and 3 officers. The third officer, as he was saying, there's a lot of overlapping, yada, yada. Nobody goes past midnight or 11. Well, actually, I've seen them at 12. Yeah, but we still have absolutely no coverage on Sunday. Half the day on Monday. The warning is Saturday. And as you also stated, we're not exactly heavy crime phones. But even with the hours, which is a negotiable issue, but I do find that odd, nothing else, nothing. When that's where you probably have most, or a possibility of activity due to the church is letting out, people going to town, getting food, coming back, running up and down Broadway, yada, yada.
I'm gonna suggest that Kevin check with the board members and see what hours they think we'll be patrolling. Try and get some input from all the board members on that.
But my main concern is, like I said, I don't believe that the economy is stable at this point, and I would hate to hire somebody for a year. And then by the end of the year, he's starting to get comfortable, he's knowing the people, and we're saying, sorry, dude, we just can't afford you this year, maybe next year. That would be horrendous. The entire reputation of the village would be destroyed. We would never be able to hire a police officer again. That's what I think. You ask?
Well, the feedback I think we're getting is we want to wait till maybe next budget year and see where we're at as far as the full-time officer goes. But maybe a part-time officer, put some hours in at night in the meantime. That
Yeah, I think
I'm not trying to put words in your mouth, Kevin.
No, I think I need the words right now, so I appreciate it. So no, I mean, I think that's a good idea in lieu of full-time officer, maybe, and that being kind of the budget concern, maybe and then have that part-time officer, but like I said, I would discuss it with the board members and again with Chief Cotton too. Yeah, making that work.
Possibility, I don't know if this is way out there or not, but, you know, if you had a part-time guy that was interested in coming to work, say, 20 hours a week. Set him down, talk to him, tell him the situation we're in, and then say possibility, I might be looking at a full-timer in, say, a year. And would you be interested in possibly moving up if we're working out? And we could slide them in, if we felt we could slide it there, into a full-time position. At that time, we can move. Deal it out, see how it works. I don't know if that's feasible, as far as you guys know more, or Mark and Chris for sure would know more about officers out there. I don't think it's changed drastically. But Mark, you got any input on that?
We can certainly look at a part-timer, to supplement.
Do you have any guy you might know that would be interested in part-time and possibly looking at working into full-time?
I don't, and I think Pat touched on it a little bit. This is not a pro-policing environment we live in right now in Illinois. It's not. One time Normal, my former previous employer, was down 14 officers. They hire them, they leave. And they pay a lot more than us, a lot more. It's a niche market, Phil, and I can put my feelers out and see about hiring somebody with previous police experience. The issue becomes this: unless you're someone that's really devoted to it, why do you want to do it? And why do you want to work? Honestly, why do you want to work the hours that we're going to make them work? Unless you're really, really devoted to being a police officer or devoted to the village, because you're only going to be able to pay him a certain amount, and you could almost make that same amount doing something else. It's a niche market. It's hard to find, is what I'm saying. In every small town here, Lexington, Colfax, they're all looking for people constantly. Because the county steals them, the state steals them, because they're paying them more. And it's really hard to find people to do this job. There's just not a lot of people that want to do it. There's just a lot of things with the new Police Safety Act and all the requirements that go with it. It is, but I can certainly look for that and put my feelers out. Because I'm not against doing that at all.
Well, an option possible would be just a suggestion, a part-time officer who already works full-time someplace else, like 3 to 11.
Mm-hmm.
They come to the village between 11 and when they get off.
I
2 hours.
Right.
Yeah.
I don't want to be a naysayer, but the average wage of a full-time officer in Normal or Bloomington is close to $50 an hour now. And so you're not going to get them to come here to work for that, because if there is extra work, which there is, they'll sign up for the overtime at their department at $75 an hour. So what I need to try to market is someone that's retired, that still has their certification, but yet wants to still stay in the field. I don't think we're going to get somebody that's unless I can find another part. Now, I might be able to find another small-time officer that might want to work here full-time. I mean, not part-time, but not from Bloomington or Normal. I might be able to find one that's working, say, maybe in Chinook, and they want to pick up some extra hours and come over here and work part-time. Yeah, I could market that. Yeah, that's quite possible. Mm-hmm.
We have had a lot of good discussion tonight. I do want to bring up one point as far as the potential expenses with the water stuff. And Pat, you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but you gotta keep expenses for water separate from the general fund, separate from police. So the expenses we're gonna have with water need to come out of water revenues, not the general fund revenues. Is that correct, Pat?
That's generally correct. You can use general or unrestricted funds technically to subsidize water, but you're really supposed to operate the water fund as a enterprise fund, meaning water fund revenue pays water fund expenses. So high level, yes, you're correct.
And I'm glad you brought those up, because there are some major potential expenses coming out.
The drainage comes out like that.
Drainage, yeah, drainage is out of the general fund. Anybody have any other comments on the police staffing? I want to thank everyone for their input tonight. I think we had some real good discussions and real good points to consider. And we'll come back and see what Kevin can gather from the trustees as far as what we think we need, and we'll go from there. Okay, Kevin, again, I'm not trying to throw you under the bus by getting you initiated here, but it was good discussion. I'm glad you were here for it, so.
Yeah, I'll reach out to the more members and get their input, feedback.
All right, Kevin, you got anything else?
No, I do not.
All right. Next on our agenda is water. Joe?
Sarah, if you'll hit sharing, I can put this on the screen as I talk about it. I sent it to everyone. Right out here too.
Are you able to share it now?
It's not finding my windows.
Recording stopped.
Okay, I don't know how to share, it's not letting me. So anyway, I sent this to everybody. So Denny's doing a great job, right? He's doing things that I think our previous water operators not doing. And then he's looking at our infrastructure and finding things that we should have been maintaining and have not been, you know, hydrants included. The thing specifically I have on the agenda tonight is our main fill valve for the water tower. So this valve shuts on off to fill the water tower. When the water tower gets low, it's, I don't know if we know how old it is, but Denny knows it hasn't been rebuilt in a while. Denny, you can just yell if I say anything wrong. The manufacturer says it should be rebuilt every 5 years. How long have you been here? 12, and it's never been rebuilt since he's been here. So it's operating, it probably won't break tomorrow, maybe it won't break for another 5 years, but we don't really know. So the options I sent in that email, you know, Denny got prices for all this, to get a whole new valve was like, you know, with the new control system was like 33,000. We could just rebuild our current one and keep our control system, that would only be 4,600. In that case that we rebuild our current one, if it would ever fail, stuck close, we'd have an issue because we don't have a bypass. So there's 5 options in that sheet that I sent you. And number 3 is install a bypass valve. So if we went to rebuild, just do the rebuild option, we should also consider maybe installing a bypass valve so that if the thing froze shut, we could continue to fill the water tower. Denny says that right now the hope is if it would freeze shut, he'd shut off the water, take it apart, clean it, and hope it would start working again. So this thing's a single point of failure, which is a little, I don't think we're so poor that we should have single point of failures in our water system actually, so I think we have to fix this somehow. So rebuilding and installing the bypass would be like 8,800, right? The option that's recommended by the people that sell this stuff is to not have that type of valve anymore. we can buy it's called a butterfly valve. They're only 5,000. They're a lot simpler. I kind of explained a little bit the text why they're simpler or why I think they're simpler. One we have uses the pressure differential to close and open, which I think makes it kind of complex. This valve uses an external pneumatic source for the pressure to open and close the valve. So the valve itself is much simpler. So it would also come with a bypass method built in, where there's something you can turn to open and close it, so it would never get stuck, and we would have, we wouldn't have automatic control. If we buy the butterfly valve, it would be a little insane to keep using our current control system. It's very old, it's got a paper recorder, which I haven't seen in many decades. So a new control system for it would be from a local firm called SCADAware. I don't know if I put that in there or not, but you can find them on the web. It's a local engineering firm, I believe. Aaron is very familiar with them, they use them, and that's there too. So the butterfly valve and a new control system would be just those two things. It'd be like 13,000. So we probably need an electrician to come in and do a little work too for maybe another 1,000. We gotta buy a couple air compressors, or at least one nice one, maybe another 1,000. So the whole thing's probably about 15,000. We'd replace the butterfly valve with something that had a built-in bypass, was new, and is a less complex, more reliable design. Questions?
Is the replacing the valve with the new butterfly type valve and replacing the control panel go together, or are those two separate?
In theory, they're separate. I mean, I think we can do butterfly valve to keep what we have, right? Yeah. So the control system, all it does is, opens and closes the solenoid. So it senses the pressure in the tank, and then it will open and close the solenoid. So the new one will only do the two. The new control system, though, is fancy. Like Aaron can look at his from his iPad sitting there, you can look at it down. So this would be sort of like that. We'd have some remote. It would text Danny if things were going bad and stuff like that. So it's a fancier system. It would store data in the cloud. Then do you have to save little paper discs for the EPA in case they want? Yeah, so then you have to save the little, I don't know if you guys know what a paper recorder is, but we always had in the computer rooms.
saw it.
Temperature.
Scary.
Yeah.
Anything.
Awesome antique technology. So we had to save those EPA. This thing would store data in the cloud for 7 years. And then you can just send that to the EPA. So it's we could use what we have, but what we have is ancient. And it would be really nice if Jenny could remotely see what was going on. And save this data in the cloud instead of having a piece of paper that's throwing ink on. The 5,000 for the butterfly valve, that's the installation and everything? That's $500?
That's just the, that's just the valve, and, the salesman and manufacturer both offered to come and said it was incredibly simple, and I kind of feel that we could do that, but said that he'd be happy to come and help us.
Okay, so for the 5180, it includes an extension pipe if needed and stuff, so that's what one of these cryptic lines is here. Yeah, okay. So that's all the pieces we need, and essentially it's installation too, because you think you're going to do it with their help.
Yep.
Okay.
And I reconfirmed that when I was talking to him about something else the other day. I'm not so worried about the mechanical connecting it, but the connecting of the controller, the solenoid to it, to make sure that's everything is just a triple check, and he's like, yeah, we can get that coordinated, to do that.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, it says here, because it's less complex, it doesn't need to be rebuilt on a particular schedule. Does that mean it has a life?
It must have a lifespan, right? Everything does, but I don't know if we know the butterfly valve, did they say like?
No,
Well, 'cause I'm not
I would assume that it would be 25, 30 years or something, they kept talking about with the clay valve, it should be, have an internal overhaul of the parts every 5 to 7 years. And, I mean, the past year or so, I've tried to, flush it, but that's different than overhauling. The answer that I got, because I asked the same question, was, like we have gate valves in the ground, which is a different type of valve, that were installed in the 50s, and they're still the same valve. So, did those all work perfectly? Well, maybe. Most of them did. So, I would say, according to him, as Joe said, the manufacturer, and this was a manufacturer rep of clay valve that was selling us the butterfly valve over the clay valve, which was his product, saying that it's because of how it operates, it's a more reliable valve and simpler.
Which this being a single point of failure is very important. I mean, if this thing breaks.
Oh, I concur, absolutely. I happened to be talking to Denny one day and he showed me the water thing and I was horrified. It was like, how old is this?
The funniest thing to me is that the water is running through the electrical panel. I cannot believe anyone did that, but that was the funniest part to me.
I guess a couple of my questions or things to keep in mind with this is the butterfly valve, you're gonna have to hook up a compressor. So there's a potential of having that compressor on and off with office staff and with your guys' office. The other thing I would keep to consideration.
In being in the middle room.
We're putting it under Sarah's desk.
The other thing I would take into consideration is making sure that if we go down the path of using the butterfly valve, that it is a normally closed valve. That we have to force it open with air, because if the compressor does fail in the middle of the night, the tank may go low, but we'll get an alarm, but it'll keep the tank from overflowing.
You think it closes with the spring? It would be normally.
There are some of those that are spring activated, that they're normally closed, we use the air, so it would only, the compressor would only run when we're forcing the valve open to fill the tank.
I just assumed you had to have pressure both ways.
Some of them do, some of them you get them with better spring that they'll automatically shut.
Okay.
I don't know what type that they're talking about.
The air work to run it both ways is what he was talking about, that he was telling me we can configure the valve however you want based on what you're doing. And so I explained to him and, had this rep here in the office over there and explained to him what we currently do and how this works, and asked him, I was looking at it at how do we get this clay valve or a bypass better. And his immediate suggestion was do this type of butterfly valve. And he said if you had a power failure and the air compressor tank was full when that failed, you would have several open and closes before that air tank would run out if you had just a simple 15-gallon air tank to do that. And he said all you would, then of course you could have it set up to where you could, if you were out of power for a long time, which of course we have a generator for the building, that you could get a portable tank and recharge that one that's sitting there without power to keep that valve opening and closing. And because I asked about a bypass for that, he said that's something that we can build into this type of butterfly valve, is a manual override on the solenoid and a manual crank to put on that valve that you would be able to overpower the air that would be going against it one way or the other. That's what I'm told.
Sounds good.
We've recently had some problems with the generator actually too. Maybe that should keep it maintained, but I would think this new control system could be better operated too, so maybe we can get that on a battery. If we have a full tank of air and a control system that runs on a battery for a few days, that might be better than depending on the generator.
Are there advantages to replacing them both together at the same time?
No, I asked the question of what's the lead time going the fire hydrant situation. On both the skate aware for the controller and the butterfly valve. And I was told like 6 weeks on the butterfly valve, and I was told 3 to maybe as much as 6 months, but closer to 3 months on the skate aware software controller. So again, like I think somebody asked the question previously that the current controller could be used on the butterfly valve. Wouldn't have to be changed to this. The clay valve that has that new modern controller was built into that option 1 price of the way the new valves are. So that's the way I was explaining.
The $33,000 line includes a new controller for the new clay valve also.
Yeah, it does not include the skate aware type stuff, but it includes a new controller not using the existing control panel. Which most of the stuff in the existing control panel in there is not even in use as it is for when we have wells.
So I'm not sure how I can do this here. Like I said, we have a little bit of cost, I guess we don't know in here as far as like, you know, buy a compressor, we need some electrician. Can I propose we you know, approve, we don't have this budgeted. So this is, we have to come out of water reserve, I guess, right? That would work, I think, right?
Either out of the reserve or a different fund. Sarah, what's your thought there?
It could come out of the maintenance utility system reserve. We could also look to see, I mean, if we have a CD possibly earmarked for water, we're gonna look at that as an option or to help with that.
Why wouldn't we just pull it out of water reserve?
As long as, yeah, which wouldn't be a problem. Just pull it out of the reserve, we shouldn't have a problem.
It's gotta be like 20,000, I mean, then we keep water and not try to steal from other stuff. So I think if we did like 20,000, I mean, that would cover it. It would be less than that, if anybody comes in to say, that we want to approve up to spending up to 20,000 to do this replacement, and it should be less than that. And well, first we need to decide if anybody agrees on what we want to do. The recommendation is the butterfly valve with a new control system.
I agree with that.
Okay, so we're looking at options, options 4 and 5 is what I sent you. So those add up to, you know, like 12,000.
Is your engineering involved in that?
The control system included in there. And the valve, as Denny said, you know, it's his labor. So that only comes up to a little over 12,000. I thought it was more than that. I think I'm missing something there. But so with you know, we'd be an electrician and we gotta buy a compressor, you know, it'd probably be around 15 at least. If we get approved 20, we won't waste the money. So I'd make a motion to approve $20,000 for whatever we have on the agenda, replacing the valve and replacing the control system.
We have a motion and a second to replace the valve, new butterfly valve, replace the control system. Any other questions or discussions?
With a maximum of 20,000?
Yeah, maximum 20,000, and it should be probably about 15. And I do want to, I asked Eddie too, 'cause I was curious, there shouldn't be an outage here, so once you fill the water tower, it takes either 12, 24 hours to drain or something. The idea is to fill the water tower and then have time to do this valve replacement. He doesn't shut off the water for looking at it, obviously, but there shouldn't be an outage for anyone, and no boil order either. So nobody should notice this happens.
What time frame?
we get parts, I guess if we wanna do both, it's gonna be 3 months before we get the controller, so.
6 weeks for the valve, 3 to 6 weeks for the valve is what I last hold. 3 to 6 months for the electronic controller. And I first started this discussion with Mark Meyer, asking him to call some of his connections with the town of Normal as he was a water department employee, and you know, they suggested the state where out of Normal, and that they used, and we talked about that water conference, and we listened to a few presentations about other state companies that are out there, and you know, they're not anywhere obviously near as close as them, so that's why we got the quote from them, and I understand that Aaron is one of them, they use them as well, and I think they have a positive reputation, and when we called him, he to come out and see our situation that we have here and how they can help us upgrade into the 21st century. He was out there the next day.
Oh, I bet he was excited.
So he said, "Oh, this is nice. It's different 5 minutes down the road. I'm not traveling clear across the state." So.
They have an extensive webpage, so it's like we do a lot of robotics for manufacturing and stuff. So it's a pretty good firm, it looks like.
Jeremy, your motion included paying for this with reserves?
I can include that, I need to say that or something?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, so make a motion, spend up to $20,000 for water reserves to replace our fill valve and control system.
I'm gonna second it.
We got a second, so we have a motion and a second. Do we have any other questions or discussion? Also, roll call?
Joe Boyd.
Yes.
Emma Brooks.
Yes.
Kevin Kelly.
Yes.
Aaron Kinder.
Yeah.
Bill Morris.
Yes.
So everything else I said, the sheet, please, you know, read when you get time. Want to take another pass at it, you know, try to come up with some yearly kind of things so we can budget stuff. If things break, you know, we'll have to replace them. We don't want hydrants out there leaking, right? We're losing money if we're leaking hydrants. We need to replace meters if they're not reporting and stuff, so. Yeah, so just read the rest of that, we can discuss more later. They sent me some stuff too, I need to incorporate it, and I'll reset it once I do it. That's all.
How are we doing on the water meter replacements, and do we have enough meter replacements with the money that we authorized? Okay, how many more do we need to get and how soon?
Well, that's something that Sarah and Mark kind of figured out is how many meters are over a million gallons, the actual meter part on the transmitter. And I believe we're at 95 or something that were over a million, and some of those were over 1.5 million. So to what degree, how fast they slow down after a million, I'm not sure. I just skimmed through some of the information that they shared with me at this mayor's meeting that he asked other folks, and they, I guess, 2 of them, I read right, they change them every 10 years. Well, our meters are on 14 and 15 year right now, and to answer Dave's question about the transmitters, we got in 12, and we used them all up right away, and then not reading for months, and each month we're getting 3 to 6 more that aren't reading, and my plan was basically make sure for 2 or 3 months they're consistently not gonna read, and then replace them. And I ordered another 12 transmitters to have, and I probably have those already that we spoke of by the time they get here last month, so a month to get here.
Joe, we can work with Sarah and Mark, figure out how many we need, how we can get ahead of this.
Okay. I think we have them backed up right now because we haven't been replacing them. If we're gonna actually replace the ones over 1 million gallons, that's something we should have been doing for years, right? We weren't doing it, like I say, Denny's now on top of this. I do have questions, I'll ask you after the meeting. There are some really high meters out here, but I mean, like, I see one meter that I know we've replaced, so I don't understand why it's so high, but I'll talk to you after the meeting, I guess.
Okay, thank you. Joe, you have anything else for water? No. All right, next is public property, Aaron.
I think the only thing on mine is to discuss the well, which I'll kind of turn that over to you. I know you met with them up there.
I'm sorry.
The well up the park.
Oh, yeah. Yep.
I'll turn that over to
Okay.
you because I know you met with
We
them.
did get a quote from Kickapoo for closing the well up park. For those of you that don't know, there is a well at the southwest corner of the pavilion in Veterans Park. And it was never sealed. It's got a steel plate over the top, which is very difficult to move, but it should have been closed correctly, who knows, 30 years ago, 50 years ago, I don't know how many. But the county saw it and said we need to fix it. So we have a choice of either sealing it or trying to use it. The cost of trying to use it is at least $2,000 to $3,000 or $4,000 more than the cost of closing it. And they also said that type of well takes a long time to recover any water. You could not use it for watering lawns. You could use it for watering flowers, but it's gonna have a very limited capacity. So my recommendation to the board is to just go ahead and close it. I think the bid,
I think what you sent me was in 1,800 to 2,000, correct?
well, that was their initial estimate, then they came back with a,
I don't know if I saw it.
okay, thought I sent it, maybe I didn't. It was $3,000, not to exceed $3,000 for actually closing it. So my recommendation to the board is, it's potentially a safety thing. We need to do something. Besides the state laws in the county telling us we need to do something, we obviously want to do something, so I recommend we close it.
Is that where the water fountain
No, it's, west of the water fountain, about 10 yards. There's a cement block here that's about, what, maybe 6 by 6?
Right here in Evergreen Tree.
I'm just curious that nobody ever noticed it before. Just a weird.
It's always been, you know, so.
Nobody realized it.
Danny, I mean, you've walked up there and then worked up there for how many years?
It's a 6 by 6 piece of concrete with a metal plate on top of it, and I mean, you wouldn't really think much of it. So.
Yeah, that's.
You've probably walked across it yourself and not really